So good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us at DigimarCon Dubai. So this morning, I want to talk to you about 25 plus ways that you can repurpose your content to get more from it. So how many of you have a business or you do digital marketing for another company and your boss is always saying, hey, I want you to push more content out. Does anybody have that? So basically we have this whole content overload. My social media handle, I run Social Chatter. By the way, it's a weekly social media marketing news talk show where we basically bring on industry experts and talk about what's new for the week, along with some tools that you can use to help you leverage within your business, whether you're working for B2B space or the B2C space, or you're a solopreneur. I've also done social media for IBM, General Dynamics, consulting for government and whatnot. So, as you know, your boss is asking you, hey, I want you to create more content. But the thing is, you're probably a team of one or maybe a team of five, and there's only so much you can do. So the first thing I want to just impress upon you is that, content marketing, it's a commitment. It's not just like, hey, I did this one campaign, great, I'm finished with my work. You have to bring your customer along on the journey. And I'm not going to just give you a bunch of hey, on Facebook, here's what you should do, and on Twitter and WhatsApp, here's what you should do. I'm going to give you a lot of tools, a lot of suggestions and ideas, and I hope that, don't get overwhelmed. Feel free to take away some of the items and at least implement a few of them in what you're currently doing. So let's talk about the current state of content. So how many of you have a blog that you're actively updating for your business? Okay, so just a few hands, okay. So how many of you are just using your social media channels for your content? You're putting all your content out there, you're not actually having a home base. Okay, so the first part I want to tell you about that is you need to have a blog for your business. The reason you need it, because if, for example, and I don't think it'll happen, but if Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, if any of these channels ever went away, you don't own any of the content that you publish there. So these are just marketing channels. They're just vehicles to push out content to your audience. So first thing I want to tell you is you need to start having a blog that you consistently update on your own platform, something that you maintain. So you maintain the content, and there's a reason why this is important. So as you can see here, if you actually are updating blog content, you already have a head start amongst other businesses. So this is because Google, for example, is wanting content to be able to index. They can't index Facebook because Facebook is behind a login. They can index maybe your Facebook page, but you control the spaces that show up when somebody searches for your business. Obviously, within your content, you have a way to structure the content as well to drive your customers from the top of the sales funnel all the way down to becoming a customer, to buying your services, to buying your products, and so forth. And obviously, people trust blogs. It's the fifth most trusted resource for information. Now, there is one little small problem, though, with this. One of those problems is, from a social media perspective, you're trying to hit a moving target. So, for example, if you're trying to keep up with the Facebook algorithm and the Instagram algorithm, what works 1 week or maybe for 6 months, it all of a sudden changes, and then you have to explain to your boss, hey, why are we not generating enough leads for our business? Why are we not getting the engagement that we previously got? So that's problem number one. Problem number two is that there's a lot of content being pushed out. People are they're turning on that fire hose, and they're just pushing out more content. But the problem is, your customers, they don't have the time to actually keep up with the content. So we're just we're flooding basically the internet with basically a lot of poorly created content. It's just, hey, let's put out a lot of text posts. But the thing is, content has changed. So, if you felt like this, what I want to do is I want to talk about ways that you can work smarter, not harder, and help you get more from producing less content. Because again, you have to give your customers, you have to give your audience time to actually catch up. And obviously, I'm sure you, the person writing all the content, you have to also, you kind of need a break, I'm sure. How many want a break? Okay. So, blogging, it's very important to do, okay? So it's very important that you are writing content. because this is actually going to help your business. It's going to help Google, for example, to continue to crawl your site to see what you have new going on. Now, the great thing is social media ties into all of this because you can have now your written content that you're publishing, but you can also have your video content that you're publishing over on YouTube as well. We can now marry the two and embed them into our blog content, what we actually own. We can take our social media posts, for example. You know, how many of you read news sites? A lot of news sites are becoming what? It's somebody's writing an article, they're embedding a tweet, for example, an Instagram post. They're putting the caption from the Instagram post into the actual content. Hey, it's getting indexed by Google for search to bring people there. Remember, less is more. Okay, so let's talk about blogging. Let's talk about some ways that you can get more out of this. So the first way is, how many of you have time to actually sit down and write 1,000 or 1,200 word blog post? A lot of times you don't because your boss is saying, hey, we want you to publish all this content, we want you to analyze the analytics, we want you to write all the content as well. So one way you can tap blogging and repurpose this is to reach out to other industry experts. For example, if the article is, say, 1,200 words, and you ask, let's see, that's 5 people, I think, right? So you ask 5 people, hey, can you, as an industry expert, give me 200, 250 words? I can now combine all of that, and I have my blog post written. All I have to do is, at this point, add some of the filler, and then when I'm finished, I can share it with them, and I'm not having to do all of the heavy lifting to constantly write the content. Another way that's very, you repurpose your content. If you're publishing it on your own site, there's nothing wrong with also going to sites like Medium or even LinkedIn, or if you use Facebook Notes, for example, publishing your content there, and then adding a link back to your existing content. So, for example, it might be taking that 1,000 to 1,200 word blog post, consolidating it into a nice, digestible piece of content, and then saying, hey, you know what, to learn more, head back to my website. So this way, you're not having to create more content, you're actually giving people more focused content. Another way that you can repurpose your content is, how many of you publish YouTube videos? Okay, so YouTube is an entirely separate audience. When you publish content on YouTube, it shows up on YouTube. It also then shows up in Google search results. But hey, how many of you are turning those into blog posts? Something that you actually own. So the great thing about this, we have a series we publish. They're called Social Snacks. They're 5-minute or less quick bite videos that we use. But what you can do is you can create instructional videos, how-to videos, testimonials. Take all of this content, put it on YouTube, for example. You can tap into the YouTube search market there, all the recommendations that YouTube's going to give you from a content perspective, and then put that on your own website as well. So you're starting to build basically your base of all of your content. So let's talk social media here. Actually, let me go back one slide. So from a video standpoint, by the way, when you are, I talked about this earlier, when you're writing content and you're putting it up on your site and Google is indexing it, the same thing happens for your YouTube content. For example, your title, your description, your tags, all of this information is combined. Google looks at all of these different angles, and then what they do is they make an assessment based on your business on whether you should show up in search results based on what people are searching for. So keep that in mind when you're creating your content. Okay, so let's talk social media, and then we're going to get some of the fun things about repurposing content that I really like. Okay, so obviously we know social media. It's really big. It's a very popular, trusted source. Facebook is the most popular social network. Instagram, obviously owned by Facebook, is second place. So we know that we need to be using social media. But what do we need to be creating? Because on average, users spend about 2 hours and change on their social media channels. So we can't just flood it with content. We want to be publishing really good content. So I'm going to start with Twitter, and we're going to go through Twitter, we're going to go through Facebook, we're going to go through YouTube and so forth. But let's talk Twitter. So a couple of things you can do to repurpose your content. You've written, say, a blog post on your own site. What you can do then is we can pull out some of the highlights from that content, and just instead of just saying, hey, go check out the article, we can go and we can pull out specific sections, because again, if you're writing any content for and optimizing it for search, you're putting in headers, heading basically a H1 tag, an H2 tag, H3, and so forth. And this is actually telling Google what the most important parts are from your content. So what you can do is you can pull out basically what's the section heading, that becomes a tweet. Second one, that becomes a tweet as well. Third one, that might be a link back to the full article that you've written. If you've quoted people in the article, that's also something else you can pull out as well, making sure you tag your users. By the way, I'm happy to send this presentation to anybody who wants it afterwards as well, so you don't have to write down all the notes on tools and things like that. So tweeting your highlights. Another thing that's also very useful, how many of you have used a Twitter chat or create a Twitter chat for anybody? Okay, so a Twitter chat, basically it's taking something that you are very knowledgeable about in your industry and just having a discussion on Twitter. Now the great thing about this is public discussion on Twitter, but because it's public, what you basically can do is say, hey, we're gonna talk about, let's see, so we're gonna talk about 5 pieces of information to help you optimize your content for search. So that might be a topic we talk about on a Twitter chat. What we can do with that then is just have a quick 30 minute to 1 hour session answering questions. And then because it's public, you're able to actually pull in anyone on Twitter who is tapping into those hashtags, for example, that you might be using, or tapping into your followers. So a Twitter chat, very simple, very easy, and it's a great way to actually build engagement with your audience, but also a great way for you to showcase your knowledge and your expertise. For those who don't like to actually just send a text tweet, the latest animated GIF or video, Twitter has a feature, and it's basically where you can turn your Twitter timeline into an audio timeline. So how many of you use WhatsApp? You're recording a voice message or something like that? Okay, so with Twitter audio, we can go on our iOS device, for example, start the live video option, and there's an option there when you tap the camera to turn it into audio. Now the great thing is it could just be, I add a 1 to 2 sentence blurb, and then someone can actually listen to me talk about this information. So this is a great way, if you're not keen on Twitter, for example, to build basically almost like a podcast for Twitter. Okay, so let's talk Facebook. How many of you use Facebook Stories? Anybody? Okay, a couple of people. So Facebook Stories, obviously you're inviting people along on your journey. Now, this doesn't have to be like, hey, go check out my latest blog post. But what I would recommend with this is, you can do this on your Facebook page, you can do this on your Facebook profile, but basically your stories, it's not just a status update, it's just something cool that you have going on. For example, if you're getting ready to present, you might open up your camera on Facebook Stories, record a quick note, hey guys, I'm getting ready to go live, tell them what the hashtag is, and then if you have somewhere you want to drive them to, I'd recommend using a tool called Pretty Links. This is a tool where you can actually go and build branded URLs for whatever it is you do. And this is an easy way for you to tell somebody where you want to drive them. An example, I mentioned at the beginning, a social media marketing talk show. Every episode, it's socialchefs.com / like last week, SC213. That's the name of the show and then the episode number. Now, if somebody types that in, it takes them to this full URL. It's easy to remember. And this is a tool that you can actually repurpose, not just for Facebook stories, but also for video and so on. Facebook Live. Is anybody using Facebook Live? Maybe a couple people? Okay. So Facebook Live. Obviously, this is a great way for you to reach out to your fans in real time. I would recommend, if you are going to do a Facebook Live, that you make sure you're promoting this. You can promote it, for instance, via Facebook Stories. So you could use a tool like Relay That or Canva, use some of the templates, create a promotional item that you are putting up on your Facebook Stories to tell people when your show is. Again, Facebook Stories only show up for 24 to 48 hours, so therefore the content's going to come down. So you can tap into Facebook Stories, then Facebook Live. to discuss a topic in real time. Again, this is information that you already are, an expert on. So again, Facebook Stories, they have Facebook Live. There's also YouTube Live as well. And then for those of you who want to take your Facebook Lives to the next level, a tool we use StreamYard, which is actually the tool for helping us bring up banners, for example, bring on guests for interviews. If we want to, maybe create a video and then download the content, we can use all of that for Facebook Live. It'll publish to Facebook Live. It looks fantastic, but it has that element of engagement. Facebook Audio, another very useful tool. So, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to publish a photo, I'm going to publish a video, Facebook Audio is another way for you to build more engaging content for your followers. So it's basically just an audio-only experience. And again, there's plenty of tools to do this. You can check out Anchor, but you can use Anchor and then Pretty Links as well to tell people what you want them to actually, go do or go to. Has anybody here using Messenger bots? Okay, so Messenger bots. So it's not just like, hey, I don't want to manage my Facebook page. Messenger bots are a fantastic way for you to take your existing content, to basically set up a funnel so that when somebody arrives on your Facebook page, a Facebook Messenger bot that will pop up. Now, the bot's not annoying. You basically build it from scratch. But the great thing is it automates different parts of your content. So for example, if I want to, say I've written a great piece of content, the typical thing is people are going to go to their Facebook page or their Instagram content, they're going to publish an update, hey, check out my latest blog post. But the great thing about a Messenger bot is you can set it up to where somebody can opt in to be notified when you have new content that you're going to be publishing. So again, this is repurposing your content because I'm not having to actually sit there and push out all of these updates. It frees up my time, but it's also a smarter way for you to work because your customer can automatically opt in to get notified when you have new things going out. And Messenger, it's not just for content. It could be, for example, you could present 3 options. Option 1, hey, would you like to talk to a human? Option 2 might be, would you like to check out our latest blog post? Option 3 might be, what's our latest, podcast episode that we published? And if you've got, maybe say a YouTube series, option 4 might be to drive them to a YouTube series. So the great thing is it's helping to unite all the content that you're creating versus just pushing out more content to people. And by the way, if you want to tap into that feature, there's a tool that we recommend. We use ManyChat for this. ManyChat's a very simple, you don't have to actually be a tech expert to or you don't have to be a coder, you don't have to be into technology. They have a lot of pre-built templates that basically walk you through the funnel. A lot of them are drag and drop versus, hey, I got to figure out how to program this. Okay, the other new feature, and this just came out last week. For those of you who publish any sort of videos, if you do Facebook Live, Facebook has a new live video clipping feature. Now, what's really cool about this is when your live video finishes, what you can do is you can go in, you can edit the option. There's 3 dots. You can click on the 3 dots, and it will actually bring up your live video. And you can go in and you can pull out different clips. Now, the great thing about these clips, you can download them and use them, for example, in some of your written content. This can give you more content to publish on your Twitter feed. You could also publish this on, say, your Instagram content, or even send this out via your email newsletter if you want to. Okay, so let's talk Instagram. Obviously, we know that you've got Instagram stories. This is the big thing. Instagram stories is constantly building in new ways to help you engage with your audience. They've now added just recently a create mode where you can, if you don't have a photo or a video you want to push out to Instagram stories, you can now actually just type out some text, add some engagement stickers such as polls and things like that. So you now have, you don't have to be afraid of using the Instagram stories feature. Now, in addition to this, though, Instagram, you can include one link in your Instagram bio. So how do you get more from this? One of those is to actually build a landing page in between your Instagram account and your website. Now, the great thing about this is it's very easy to use, but you have to remember, you as the user, you control the experience for your customers. So, for example, if you want to drive them to your social media channels, Don't be like, oh, hey, here's my website option. And actually here, I'll show you what this looks like. So basically it looks like this. If somebody were to go to my Instagram bio, they clicked on my link that was there, it would take them to this landing page. And then I'm able to present them with the options I want them to know about. So it could be, for example, hey, here's my blog. If I've got other initiatives going on in my business, if I have a podcast, I can drive somebody to the podcast. If I'm a major company, for example, and I want to drive them to a webinar or other things that we have going on, I can put that information there as well. So again, and these are easy to change up. It takes about maybe 5 minutes once you set the initial landing page up. So that's Instagram bio links. Now the other way you can repurpose your content is IGTV. Is anybody using IGTV? A couple people? Okay. So IGTV, for those of you who don't know, it's basically Instagram's version of YouTube. And so, you can create vertical videos, you can create horizontal videos. They have a swipe up feature where you can drive people back to they can swipe up to drive them, for instance, to an offer. So for example, if you are a business, you might want to have some of your executives record something for IGTV, and you can have a swipe up to drive them back to a registration page for your business as well. So again, this is ways to get more mileage from what you're actually using. I know WhatsApp is very big over here, over in the Middle East. A couple of things for WhatsApp. For those of you, who want to, if you want to get help get the word out about what all you have going on. So WhatsApp is slowly being integrated with Facebook and Instagram. So all of your messaging pretty much is all going to work together. The other things that they've got in WhatsApp, so I'd recommend setting up different groups based on the content that you have within your business. So for example, instead of saying, hey, here, let me add everyone to this list, what happens a lot of times is then people are like, well, hey, I don't actually need all of this content. I only want this one type of topic. So I'd suggest creating separate WhatsApp groups and then encouraging people to join those groups. And then at that point, you can push out your specific content to one particular group and then the next and the next and the next. And this way, you're hitting them with the right content that they want. Now, the other thing also is, for those of you who have a WhatsApp account, there's no need to use a regular WhatsApp account. You can set up a WhatsApp business account. And this way, there's actually some really cool stuff here. So WhatsApp business accounts basically have some automation built in. So somebody logs into when they log in and go to connect with you on WhatsApp, there can be an automated message that pops up based on whether this is the first time that somebody has arrived or it's maybe a future conversation that you've had with them. So this is a great way for you to, one, stay business-minded, but also find new ways to engage with your customer. This is basically, in a way, it's almost like building a chatbot within WhatsApp. Okay, so let's talk LinkedIn real quick, and then we're going to get into some of my favorite topics here. Let me just check the time. Okay, so LinkedIn. Is anybody using LinkedIn Live at all? Okay. So LinkedIn Live, LinkedIn now has, you're seeing a trend here, obviously. It doesn't matter which social media platform you're on. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, they are all offering very similar features. And then it's up to you to basically just say, hey, okay, if my audience is on LinkedIn primarily, that I am basically trying to push out the right content there. So LinkedIn, they have a LinkedIn Live feature now, so you can record live video basically to tap into your business market. Again, a tool for that we use, it's called StreamYard, and I know if you don't have LinkedIn Live and you want it, they do have the option for your LinkedIn profile. They also have it for your company pages as well. So if LinkedIn is a big part of your business, definitely be sure you check that out. LinkedIn company pages. How many of you actually, when you finish writing a piece of content or publishing a video, how many of you go and actually update your LinkedIn bio to tell people about what your initiatives are, something new you've published? So with LinkedIn, as you can see here, so if you run, for example, like I run a show, I put down that I'm a host of this show. I can add new episodes as I am publishing them each week. And the great thing is these show up as updates to my audience. So I'm not having to I'm not like, oh, let me just force more content on them. It's basically just, it's a process. Every week I publish, at the end of the week, I publish a new piece of content. I make sure LinkedIn is part of my process for updating them. And then I just take the same graphic that's on my blog, and I can now put that on my LinkedIn profile. And obviously, this is a way for you to build the content that you're publishing on that platform. Obviously, you can also record native videos. LinkedIn's done a fantastic job over the past 6 to 12 months, giving you more functionality, making it easier for you to record from a mobile device as well as a desktop. So this way you can, again, if LinkedIn is the platform where your audience is at, we might take a topic that we're very knowledgeable about. We record a quick, maybe 3 to 5 minute video. We can publish that on LinkedIn, or we can take that live video that we did and we can pull out those segments, the clips, and we can publish them on LinkedIn. Okay, so let's talk YouTube. Well, we talked earlier about converting a video to a blog post. You can also do the same to convert a blog post to a video. And I would recommend on something like this that you spend the time thinking about what the content is, because not every piece of content needs to have a video. And the same thing, if it's a video, for example, that works really well for, if it's a video that works really well for a written article, that warrants it, then yes, go ahead and create that. The reason you want to do this, by the way, is because if somebody, for example, wants to watch it, if they're going to go look for something, they're going to go on Google, they're going to search for something. Sometimes a video will suffice, but sometimes you also need to have the written content. You need the written content not just for to help your audience understand what it is they're trying to learn, for example, each step, but you also benefit by having both of these pieces of content up. So, for example, if I were to go to YouTube, I would be able to find just videos there, and YouTube optimizes every piece of the video, the title, the description, the tags, the name of the video file, for example, that you're uploading. But on the other side of that is if I write a piece of content, I can take the YouTube video, I can embed it, and I can get more mileage from it. Now, in addition to that, my written content is going to get indexed by Google, so I have 2 things that are going to show up. And then on top of that, there's a video section that shows at the top of a YouTube search. That's where my videos that are on YouTube can also show up. Now, in addition to this, YouTube has a new feature they just rolled out. It's called Key Moments. And what it does is if you create, say, a 20-minute video, who wants to fast forward through a 20-minute video to find that one little section that you need? So with YouTube Key Moments, YouTube is actually indexing your video and pulling out all the key moments, and now if somebody goes to search, they're going to see the video, but they're also going to see the little sections that YouTube has identified as for you from your. So I talked earlier about publishing video to Facebook, publishing to LinkedIn, publishing to YouTube. There's also a feature, and this is not just a YouTube feature, it's simulcasting your content. So if you think about it, if we think about like a content producer, so if somebody publishes a movie or a TV show, right? So what they do is they publish it out, but they push it out to everybody, to their TVs. But the thing is, they work with different networks as well. So your content can actually be going to multiple places. So for example, if I'm using a simulcasting feature, I could say, hey, my home base is Facebook, and then I also want to publish to 2 YouTube channels. For example, if the content is relevant, I can publish to LinkedIn Live, and in addition to that, any other platform where I want to go. And this is actually built into StreamYard. You can also use a tool called Restream.io as well for that. It really comes down to which platform you prefer. But the great thing is you can basically push one video out, and like right now, our video goes out to 2 Facebook pages, it goes to 2 YouTube channels, a LinkedIn channel as well. So we're hitting 5 channels at once because we know that the content is relevant there. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about my favorite section. This is the multimedia section, and there's a lot of stuff here. Again, don't get overwhelmed. There's a lot of ways that you can take your content and repurpose it, break it down. Again, if you take anything away, implement 1 or 2 things. Get yourself started, find something that works for your audience. So let's talk multimedia. Okay, so audio formats. What are some different ways that we can repurpose for audio? One of those is to create a podcast. And this doesn't have to be an overly produced process. How many of you listen to podcasts? Okay, so a few people. So you have to think about the content you're creating and the audience you're trying to reach. So with a podcast, it could be something as simple as this. I publish a Facebook Live video, I download the video afterwards, and I strip the audio. That takes about 5 minutes, honestly, once you've downloaded the video. And now you can have your audio that you can push out to iTunes and Spotify and Google Play, basically any channel where that accepts podcasting. Now, in addition to this, though, if you want to get it and make it very produced, you can use some of these tools that we have actually here. One of these, actually, you can record your podcast on your mobile phone. So I can basically launch my mobile phone, open up basically my intro. I can have an intro layer, I can have a mid-roll bumper, and I can have an outro, and I can record my podcast while I'm sitting at my desk in my office. Don't have to go to a fancy sound studio, just need a really good microphone attached to my phone. Now, in addition to this, if you want to repurpose from an audio perspective, you can use a tool such as Headliner. What that will do is you can go and you can pull out little audio snippets, and you can basically now have content that you can publish on Twitter or Facebook or pretty much any channel you want to publish on. For those of you who have a blog, you can use the Smart Podcast Player. That basically it's a way for you to pull in your podcast basically directly into your piece of content. So you have to think about your audience. If your audience, for example, if you're looking at your Google Analytics and you're seeing your audience is not reading your content, they're not spending a lot of time in your site, maybe you need a different medium to reach them. And that medium could be a podcast. And it could be something as simple as, hey, I write this piece of content, I record it in audio format, and then now my audience can either listen to it or they can read it, whatever actually works for them. Another thing, anybody use Alexa flash briefings? Okay, so in Alexa flash briefing, you do not have to have, and I want to make sure this is clear, you do not have to have an Amazon Alexa device. You don't have to go out and spend, a couple $100s to have a device sit on your shelf. What you can actually do is you can download the Alexa app on your mobile device, and you can create your Alexa skill. I'll give you an example. I run a show, my live show is about 45 to 60 minutes each week. Now, what we do with that is we publish it as a Facebook Live. We then strip the audio, put that up as a podcast. Now, the only recording I actually do is I spend 5 to 10 minutes and record an Alexa flash briefing. Now, the great thing here is I'm not going into all the detail. They don't have to listen to myself and my co-host Phil banter back and forth on topics. But what they can do is they can launch their Alexa device. Hey, Alexa, what's my flash briefing? And they can listen to this quick 5-minute soundbite of me talking about what the main topics are for the week and how they can actually help somebody. So you have to think about this. You're taking this content and we're breaking it down into lots of bite-sized pieces that our audience can consume. So let's talk video. So how many of you have a highlight reel for your business? Anybody? Okay. So we can create highlight reels, and there's lots of ways you can do this. You can use Video Highlight Reel Maker, but another one that's also pretty cool, and I saw somebody had, I think, an AI booth outside. So there's an app called Trash App, and this app is pretty neat. You basically upload your video content, and it will actually go through your content. It will pick the music for you, the transitions, and it will automatically create your video for you. And then you can go in and, for example, if it's too somber, you can go in and you can click a button and it will actually remix the video into different formats. So a few other ideas for you, and there's lots of different ways. Again, you're the, if it's, you have to remember, you're the expert, so you know your subject matter, and you have to tell people about this. So, for example, you can develop trainings. How many of you have any trainings at your business? Like, are you publishing trainings to help your, okay, we've got a couple people. You seem to be very active, actually, so this is good. We have, from a tool standpoint, like if we want to create a training course, a webinar, these are not complicated processes, and we can take all the knowledge that we have, the things that we're learning, and we can turn these into courses. We can use tools like Kajabi, Thinkific, Lead Pages, ShortStack, Teachable, all these tools to quickly create a course. or a bundle of courses that we can use to move our customer along from, hey, we have that initial meeting with them, and then, move them along down the sales funnel to eventually become a customer. Another thing you can also do, so we talked about creating video clips from a Facebook Live. You can also turn your videos into animated GIFs. It's actually a pretty neat little thing. A couple of things you can do here. So you can take your video and you can pull out certain moments and have an animated GIF that you can upload over to your social media channels. But another thing also, if you want to, is you as an individual, maybe you have like a certain moment, like where you've got like a cool face, for example, or you're doing a thumbs up or something to really, encourage your customers and just engage with them. What you can actually do then is you can actually record your own animated GIFs using, say, Gifs, and then you can upload them to Jiffy. And so that way, when you upload them, they then become available for anybody who is, for example, wanting to find, the latest animated GIF to send to their, to send to somebody. So it's a way to like, hey, you could have some branding in the background, you could have a T-shirt on, anything that you want. But it's a great way for you to be able to, to also like to get the word out. And then also, you can also create a guide or an ebook. There's a very useful tool. It's called Designer. And it's fantastic because you basically can upload your presentation. It will automatically create the guide or the ebook for you based on what you upload. It's just such a time saver. So make sure you check that out. And then lastly, my favorite way to really repurpose my content is, and I don't talk much about email marketing, but to set up an autoresponder. And an autoresponder, does anybody know what an autoresponder is? Okay, a couple people. So an autoresponder basically is this. So I could take this presentation and I could create, let's see, about 30 emails that go out in a series. So somebody opts into my email list to get the autoresponder. Email one might be, hey guys, really nice to meet you, telling them a little bit about yourself, what you're going to be giving them. Email two might be, hey, if you have any questions, be sure you join our private Facebook group that we have, or connect with us on our social media channels and tell them, which ones you obviously want them to connect with you on. Don't list them all. And then what happens then is, the email basically can go through the series. So email one might be, hey, here's, for example, for those of you who want to tap into Facebook, here are 3 ways that you can use Facebook Live, for example, and some of the other Facebook features, and you can basically send this email out. Now, what's cool about this is I can send this, for example, this gentleman here at the front table here, he can sign up for this email and start getting email 1 today, and then another person can sign up 7 days later, and they're getting email 1 while he's on email 7. So the great thing about this is you spend the time up front creating the content, but then it's a way for you to move all your customers along while you're still, while you're trying to either create content or, you're doing other things within the business. So email autoresponders, and just about every single email platform has these: Aweber, MailChimp, ActiveCampaign. It sounds like it's a very complicated process, but the great thing is you can go and you create all the content up front, you write all your emails, and then they automatically go out. You don't have to do anything except go back and update them as the needs of your business change. So a couple of things, I want to tell you, just work smarter, not harder. There's lots of tools out there. There's lots of ways that you can go about slicing and dicing your content so that you can get the right piece of content out there in front of your audience. You don't have to have the fire hose on all the time. You can actually take a break because you need to take a break. You need to give your customers time to actually catch up, because if I'm pushing more content out, they don't have the time to consume all the content. What ends up happening is this: the person says, well, hey, okay, I'm going to sign up for your, I'm going to join you on one of your social media channels. And if you, for instance, share, if you share too many updates, what's going to happen? The person's going to, maybe they're going to mute you, for example, or they're going to decide they don't want to actually continue that relationship because they're overwhelmed. And the key thing is you don't want your customers to be overwhelmed. You want to find that happy medium, and you want to make sure that you're reaching them on the right platform. So just a couple of things I want to impress upon you, and that's the fact that, one, work smarter, not harder. So let's create a really good piece of content, and then let's figure out ways that we can cut that up into different pieces that we can share on all of our platforms, or things that can help us do the heavy lifting. A couple of things also. For example, I'll give you like a quick example here. So if somebody is driving into work, for example, and they have a 45 to 60-minute commute every single day, if I'm spending 4 hours writing a piece of content that no one is reading, for example, I'm wasting my time. Like, it's good to create the content, but you need to know, hey, if my audience is primarily an audience that is driving, for example, or on a subway or a metro or taking public transportation, I need to create the content that helps me reach those people. So I could spend the time writing the content, but I need to also make sure that I'm publishing other formats. I need to publish maybe an audio version. I might want to have a video, for example, so I'm tapping into the millennial or the Gen Z, I think, right? So I want to make sure that anything that I'm publishing in multiple places, but I'm making it bite-sized content that people can consume. So just a couple of things. If you have any questions, I'm outside. I've got a booth set up. If you have a question, you're welcome to come and record it, actually, and I'll actually do my best to get them all answered. I'm not going to, obviously, as you know, I didn't talk about Facebook ads or any of that kind of stuff, but by writing content, and this is Aaron, I think Aaron's in here as well, but, I know he's going to talk about Facebook ads and retargeting, but if you're creating content, for example, on your own website, the great thing about it is it's actually going to help you from a social media perspective, because as Aaron's going to probably tell you, you can retarget your audience based on them viewing a particular piece of content on your own site. A couple other things real quick, if you guys want any workshops, we have a couple of repurposing workshops here. Those are socialchefs.com/repurposed workshop. We also have ones where we do one-on-one coaching with businesses as well to help them take their existing content, slice and dice it, and we'll help you get yourself on the right track. And if you have any questions, you can actually send me a WhatsApp message. If you can't find me in the hall, 202-643-9123. I'm happy to answer your questions. But thanks a lot. And does anybody have other questions of things that I can cover? Yes. Let's get the catch box, actually. Yes.
Sir, you talked about the length of the videos as well on the YouTube and Facebook.
Yes.
Recently, there's a sort of a suggestion from Facebook coming up that 3 minutes video will be more viral than the video less than 3 minutes. What do you suggest as a social media chef, whatever you say about yourself, and that what sort of a video length is proposed on different type of channels?
So I think it comes down to this. I think part of it is you need to ask the audience, like ask your customers, for example. If it's Facebook, for example, or YouTube, you can go into the analytics, and they actually have some fantastic analytics. You can see when customers are dropping off. On Facebook, it's probably going to be very likely at the beginning. I would say this, under 3 minutes, over 3 minutes. The key thing is to find the sweet spot. And a lot of that plays into like the pacing of the video, what the topic is, and so forth. Like if it's just a quick, if it's like a movie trailer, like, a 2 to 3 minute video, for a lot of people, that might not be enough, to get them to actually continue watching. If it's, depending on the topic. So I'd say you do have to play with the times, make I'll give you an example. When I started YouTube videos, I published, I was on for 15, 20 minutes, for example, and it was too long. I didn't think it was long because hey, I rambled, I had some some uhs, it wasn't very polished. So the key thing is to take that longer video and to distill it to where it's very concentrated, over 2 to 3 minutes. And then watch your analytics to see what your customers are spending the most time on. And your Facebook analytics, your YouTube analytics, they're going to both be very different. But the information's there. That's the great thing.
And that's a secondary question from it. What do you think? These types of audience are different on Facebook, on YouTube, or type of channels which are making them different?
Yeah, definitely. You definitely are going to be different, but you also have to. It comes down to asking your audience, where do they spend the most time? So I mentioned, Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and WhatsApp and Instagram and whatnot. if you're, for instance, like, it depends on the business. Some customers are going to work very well on certain channels. And so like what you need to do is you need to ask the customer, what channel do you spend the most time on? I'd recommend maybe using Google Forms. I think it's google.com/forms. SurveyMonkey, Facebook polls as well. Ask your audience where they spend the most time. And by the way, also you could email them, like send out a mass email to your email list. Hey guys, we're looking to find out where you spend the most time because we want to make sure we're providing you with the most value. And so ask them and then look at the results that they're going to give you and then craft your strategy around that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, if anybody has questions, you think of something, I'm going to be out in the hallway during the networking break. Feel free to come and grab me, ask me whatever questions you have. I'm happy to answer them. I'm pretty much an open book. So thanks a lot, everyone.